Disney quietly stepped away from Johnny Depp after years of Jack Sparrow defining an entire franchise. One day, the captain who carried 5 films and billions at the box office was simply no longer part of the next chapter. Fans still ask the same question years later. Was it the headlines? Was it the climate of the time? Or was it something Disney never fully explained? In his own words, during the 2022 trial, Depp said the studio moved to cut ties to be safe, while the conversation around him grew louder. The truth sits somewhere between public statements and quiet business decisions. This is the real story of how one of Hollywood's most recognizable faces was removed from the role that made him a global icon. The story of how Disney stepped away from Johnny Depp begins long before any headlines and stretches across more than 2 decades of unexpected success, creative risk, and quiet studio calculations. When Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl opened in 2003, few expected a theme park ride adaptation to redefine a studio or turn one actor into the face of an entire franchise. Johnny Depp arrived with a performance that leaned into rock and roll swagger, gold teeth, and a swaying gait inspired by Keith Richards. According to Depp himself in later interviews, Disney executives were unsettled by the dailies. They reportedly questioned whether the character appeared drunk or something else entirely, and for a brief period, the studio considered replacing him. Producer Jerry Bruckheimer later described the tension and how the team convinced the studio to keep going. The gamble paid off. The first film earned more than $654 million worldwide. The second, Dead Man's Chest, crossed $1 billion. The 5 films together brought in over $4.5 billion at the global box office. Depp's reported salaries climbed, with each installment reaching a combined figure near $300 million across the series. Jack Sparrow became more than a role. It became a cultural shorthand for clever chaos and reluctant heroism that audiences of every age recognized. Yet even at the height of that success, the relationship between the actor and the studio carried an undercurrent of creative friction. Depp said he felt the character deserved a proper goodbye when the time came, and that he had poured pieces of himself into the dialogue and the physicality. By the time Dead Men Tell No Tales arrived in 2017, the franchise still performed strongly at nearly $800 million worldwide, but conversations about the future had already begun. Wait until you hear what shifted next. In 2016, public allegations of domestic violence surfaced during the end of Depp's marriage. The claims were denied by Depp from the start, and the divorce was settled. The conversation around those claims continued in the press for years. Then in December 2018, Amber Heard published an op-ed in the Washington Post describing herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse without naming Depp. Within days, according to Depp's later testimony under oath, Disney informed him he would not continue with the franchise. During the 2022 defamation trial in Virginia, Depp stated that 2 years of constant worldwide talk had already created a climate, and that Disney was trying to cut ties to be safe while the Me Too movement was in full swing. He added that he was not aware of an October 2018 Daily Mail report suggesting he was already out as Jack Sparrow, but that the report did not surprise him. Disney's production chief Sean Bailey confirmed the studio's direction in a December 2018 interview with The Hollywood Reporter. When asked whether the franchise could survive without Depp, Bailey said the studio wanted to bring in a new energy and vitality and tasked the writers of Deadpool with giving the series a kick in the pants. No detailed public explanation beyond that desire for fresh direction was offered at the time. Depp's manager later testified that a deal for $22.5 million for a 6th film had been closed before the op-ed, but that the project moved in a different direction afterward. Depp himself told the court he felt a deep sense of betrayal after delivering a character the studio had initially resisted, yet had come to rely on. He noted that Disney continued to feature Jack Sparrow in theme park rides and merchandise around the world even after stepping away from the actor. The character remained profitable. The man who created him on screen did not remain part of the next chapter. But that is not even the full picture of what followed. The professional fallout was immediate and wide. Depp was replaced in the Fantastic Beasts series. Studio opportunities that had once arrived regularly grew scarce. He continued working in independent and international projects, including Minamata and Johnny Depp, and later directed the feature movie 3 Days on the Wing of Madness. The 2022 trial became a public airing of the years of conflict. A jury found that certain statements in the op-ed were defamatory and awarded Depp compensatory and punitive damages, while also finding one statement by Depp's former attorney defamatory toward Heard. Depp has maintained throughout that the allegations against him were untrue. The verdict did not instantly restore every previous relationship in Hollywood. It did, however, mark a turning point in public perception for many who had followed the case closely. Things were about to get even more unexpected. For years after the trial, the question of whether Disney and Depp would ever cross paths again lingered among fans. No public reconciliation or new collaboration has been announced. Depp has stated under oath that even if Disney approached him with a massive offer, nothing would bring him back to the franchise. He has spoken of the sense that the characters deserved a proper ending and of the feeling that the long working relationship had ended without one. Yet the cultural footprint of Jack Sparrow never faded. Cosplayers still appear at conventions, the rides still run, the films still stream and sell, and the actor who built the role has kept working on his own terms. By 2026, a different kind of return was underway. In July of that year, Johnny Depp appeared at San Diego Comic-Con in full character as Ebenezer Scrooge, promoting the upcoming Paramount film Ebenezer, a dark reimagining of Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol directed by T. West. The appearance was largely unannounced. Fans who had gathered near a temporary Victorian storefront in the Gaslamp district suddenly found the actor in top hat and heavy coat interacting in character. Later, he took the stage in Hall H to introduce the trailer. The line spoken on screen and in the presentation carried a quiet resonance. It is good to be back. The film is scheduled for theatrical release on November 13th, 2026, and also features Ian McKellen, Rupert Grint, Daisy Ridley, and others. Another Project A drinker with Penelope Cruz is lined up for the following year. The path from the quiet removal from Pirates to this new chapter was neither straight nor simple. It involved studio risk calculations, public allegations that Depp has always denied legal proceedings that filled courtrooms and headlines, and a gradual return built on independent work and persistent audience interest. What remains striking is how completely the character Jack Sparrow outlasted the temporary distance between the actor and the studio that once hesitated over him. Disney's decision to move forward without Depp was framed publicly as a desire for new energy. Depp's account under oath framed it as a protective step taken in a charged cultural moment. Both versions can be examined through the same set of dates, statements, and box office numbers. The early resistance to the performance, the $1 billion, returns the merchandise that never stopped the testimony about betrayal and safety, the long stretch of quieter years, and the recent appearance in full costume at a major convention all form one continuous arc. Audiences who grew up watching the captain stumble and scheme and somehow survive have watched that arc unfold in real time. The curiosity that still surrounds the exit is less about blame and more about the rare collision of massive commercial success, creative ownership, and institutional caution. Depp has never publicly claimed perfection. He has claimed consistency in his denial of the most serious allegations and a continued commitment to the craft that first made the studio nervous and then made it rich. The next time you see a Jack Sparrow figure on a shelf or floating through a theme park ride, the quiet question remains, how does a studio step away from the person who made the character matter while keeping every profitable echo of that character alive? The answer sits in the gap between official statements and sworn testimony, between box office ledgers and personal cost, and that gap is where the real story of the removal continues to live.